Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to HeSpoke Fashion Live. I am your host, Dayline Thomas, and we have a great show in store for you. Go ahead and grab your neighbor to grab your tambourine on tonight, because we're going to have a great conversation, and we'll be back right after this. Come on, hit it. This platform discusses any and all information that has been published to the public sphere. We will engage our viewers through the use of this public information. All videos, songs, and graphics used in the video belong to their respective owners. I claim ownership of all produced video content on this channel and video. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
HeSpoke fashion. I'm telling you, HeSpoke fashion. Not so bad. HeSpoke fashion. I'm telling you, HeSpoke.
Good evening, good evening. Once again, thank you for joining us at HeSpoke Fashion Live. Again, I am your host, Dayline Thomas, and go ahead and tell Lottie Dottie and everybody that we're live, and we have a great show in store for you. I'm telling you, go ahead and like and share, and listen to my YouTube audience. Go ahead and hit subscribe and hit that little bell, because you want to be notified every time we go live. Listen, we have a great show in store for you tonight. Listen, I just want to have this conversation, because I think by now it's time that we have it. That's right. Tonight we're talking about, should your praise and worship team be sexy? That is the question. That is the challenge on tonight. And listen, I know that we've all been tuning in. We've been sheltering in place. Some of us have not returned to in-person services, especially in the Jersey area. And so we are really looking at our favorite Facebook pastors and praise and worship teams on social media. And because of that, I've been noticing, I don't know about you, that there has been a change in what we would normally see in our sanctuaries. That's right. And so I want to talk about it. Yes, of course, we specifically talk about women's fashion from a man's perspective, but we have to go everywhere fashion is. And fashion is in your sanctuary. That's right. I said it. We talked about it even before. But we have to draw the thin line between what is fashionable and what is sexy. That's right. Is your praise and worship team, should they be sexy? And of course, this is a conversation I believe many of you have been dying to ask. As a matter of fact, I receive messages, text messages, asking me what I talk about this subject. And I don't know about you, but I'm not one who ever wants to throw salt or dirt on the church. I don't know about you, but the way that I was raised, you didn't want to do that. But we have to address some of the issues that are perhaps an issue in many of our sanctuaries. I remember the days of old, when the mothers of Zion, if there was anything inappropriate, they were the first ones that would get you told. I remember as a young boy, you didn't want to come into the sanctuary just looking any kind of way. But I want to talk about it, because have we gone far away from the days of old? And is that a bad thing if we have? Let's talk about it. So as I said, go ahead grab your favorite beverage. A little product placement. But go ahead and grab your favorite beverage. Go ahead and meet us in the comments. Did you bring your tambourine? Because we have a special guest that is joining us on tonight. A special guest. I'm telling you, I am so excited about my special guest. And I'm telling you, we're going to dig into this subject matter. And I want to go ahead and just bring her on. Can we do that? Can we just go ahead and bring her on? Come on. Give me some applause, some claps, some thumbs up, some likes in the comments. If you want us to go ahead and bring our guest on, because I'm telling you, I am sure my special guest is raring to go so we can have this conversation, because again, we just need to have it. We all love what's going on. We all love the church. And we want to have this conversation. Yes, again, we want to talk about fashion, and we're going to where fashion is in the sanctuary on tonight. And listen, we're going to get right down into it. I want to welcome tonight to my audience, my special guest, none other than gospel recording artist extraordinaire, my friend, Marshetta Parker. Come on, give me some claps, give me some hand claps for my special guest, Miss Marshetta Parker. Wonderful. Marshetta, how are you tonight?
I'm doing absolutely amazing.
Great. Well, I am just ecstatic to have you with us tonight. And I want to just go ahead and get right into it. First of all, this is your first time being with us. I pray not the last. And I want to just get right to it. I want to ask you just a little bit about yourself. So, of course, I know you personally, but my audience does not. So tell us a little bit about your recordings and the material that you have out there. How long have you been doing this?
All right. Actually, well, I'm Marshetta Parker, and I have been a worship leader for the same church for the last 23 years. Wow. And I love what I do. I love entering into the presence of the Lord. And I actually even love training people on how to do it as well. I've been a recording artist, though, for the last 10 or 11 years. I was the reluctant praise and worship leader. I was also the reluctant artist. So everything I did, God had to push me into it, or somebody had to catch me by a hook and do it. So I never sought the spotlight, but somehow it seemed to find me wherever I went. So I love singing. I like singing. I love God more. So I just released my single, My Everything Live, which was My Everything was actually my first song that I released over 10 years ago. And I knew I wanted to do a live recording of that. And so, God blessed me to be able to do that. And it's been such a blessing. So today is the actual release. So I hope people will go out there and download it and share it. I just want the people of God to be blessed by what I feel God gave me.
Wow, that is wonderful. And I heard you say in that moment that you love God more.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people, just because they have the talent, just because they have the gift, relationship with God may not be there, but because they're gifted, we find them sometimes even in our sanctuary singing praise and worship every Sunday morning, have no relationship with God. But I'm glad to hear that you started with that. You started with that, and that's wonderful. So again, praise and worship leader, number of years, 23 years. Now let's go back before you became the praise and worship leader there for the number of years. What were you doing before then? Let's talk about that.
All right. So I'm a PK. My father was a pastor. So I was raised in the church. As my siblings and I say, we just woke up one day and we were at church. That's how life began. And I'm from the school of, we went to church all the time. So Tuesday night, prayer and Bible band, Friday night, pastoral teaching, and then somewhere in between we had choir rehearsal, and then it was like 2 or 3 services on Sunday.
Wow.
So yeah. So church is what I know, and I am, I'm Kojic, born and bred. been in this church for my entire life. So, so we can talk fashion.
Yes. One thing that I must say about the grand old Church of God in Christ that I know is that the Church of God in Christ is fashionable. You see some of the best dressed people doing convocation and your jurisdictional convocation. You see some of the most wonderfully dressed and fashionable people. And so I concur on that. And so, listen, my other question is, who would you say would be a major influence in your music? Who would you say?
Actually, probably one of my favorite, and people probably wouldn't put her in a bracket of worshipers, but she really is. One of my favorite people happens to also be a friend of mine, and her name is Lisa Page Brooks. And she absolutely is amazing. If you ever got to see her, whether she was leading at church, something in the choir, or whether she was on with Witness or doing something on her own project, she consistently can take you into the presence of God. I don't think that I have ever seen her have a bad day. Not in ministry, ever.
I am telling you, I am a fan of hers as well. A fan of hers as well. So, but I can tell because you get that from her, I guess, that you can take us into the presence of God. And so I can concur on that as well. So how many years, I think you've already answered that. You said 23 years as praise and worship leader.
I know you're like, how's that possible? And you're only 30, right?
That is true. I was going to say that. I get that sometimes myself. No, it's wonderful because you can tell that you are a seasoned praise and worship leader, and you are able to flow under the anointing. And that's one of the things that I appreciate in praise and worship, when you can tell that the praise and worship leader is able to flow. They're able to sense the presence of God and then flow underneath that. And so I am definitely in tune with that. So let's get right down to it. We're going to talk this segment, have a few questions about the church and change.
Okay.
So one of the things when we deal with fashion, of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. And that is the casual Sunday movement. I'll say it was a movement. It started off as a movement where, Youth Sunday, you could count on it being casual Sunday. Then it changed from Youth Sunday to multiple Sundays. And then it kind of changed to, in some sanctuaries, that it's just casual all the time. Now, would you say, and the question is, how would you say casual Sunday impacted the fashion of the church?
Well, I would assume that it impacted it because if you're thinking casual, then I'm not really thinking my best. Like it's cool. It's like what I would put on to go out, to go to the grocery store, or maybe to go chill with my friends. Not necessarily our best. And if people understand the history of even the Black church, that was one of the places that we could go and get dressed up and present ourselves to God. We wanted to give him our best. Mm-hmm. And so when we became casual, and I'm not saying that anything's wrong with casual, I like casual Sunday, but you're right. When it comes down to like, this is my every Sunday thing, it's cool. I don't think that's going to save you or put you in hell one way or the other. However, I just always want to present my best. I heard, and I'm probably jumping ahead, but I heard a bishop say this once. He said, we're required to go to court with a suit on, but we go to church with flip-flops.
Right.
So we can stand before the judge in our Sunday best. Sunday best is supposed to be for God.
Yeah.
But for God, the judge won't even accept that. But the church has.
Wow. Very good. When you were saying that, I thought about what you said when you said casual. When you think casual, you don't think my best. And could it be that we didn't use the right terminology and what we meant by casual? Because if you say casual again, and many people just like you and myself, if you say casual, I'm not thinking my best. I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, if I was going to go to the grocery store, I'd wear this, so I'll casually go to church. But could it have been we missed the opportunity to really define what we meant when we said casual? Or perhaps did we use the wrong word and maybe should have used something else to exemplify what we meant, that we didn't mean not your best. We meant your best, but maybe not what you think in terms of a shirt and tie and a suit. But certainly we want you to do your best because, as you said, your Sunday's best should be for God. So do you think we missed a moment in that and how we defined it or the verbiage we used?
Possibly, but if that was really what you were going after, I think that some things you don't have to say.
Wow.
So maybe we didn't have to say it at all, and we just created an environment for people to feel comfortable coming. I think about my church. We dress up at our church, but we also have people who don't dress up. I don't think that either one of them feels off either way it is. However, if you're in leadership, then you're held to a different standard. But for the general church, then I don't think that there's a note for the church. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know that we should have even ever had that, because you create the atmosphere for your church. And if that happens to be what I consider casual, then that's cool.
Wonderful. I'm telling you, you're right on it. And you're kind of headed where we're heading in terms of leadership and a different standard. But before we get to that,
okay,
would you say that the change in this era, the change in the music has also led to a shifting in how we dress? Because we're not singing the old hymnals as much. We're not singing the congregational songs as much. We're singing different types of music. And would you say that may contribute to the change in fashion?
Possibly. You know, think about secular music. That also contributes to the way people dress. So I would say the kind of shift to a more, sometimes more CCM, because when you think CCM, they're a little more casual than your traditional churches, then possibly, that could be the case.
You know what? When you were saying that, I'm sorry. I thought about back in the day when the group came out with the song "Doing the Butt," back in that movie, and everybody wanted to have the biker shorts on.
Because I had to have some. My pastor father wanted me when he could see me, so I snuck and bought me some too.
Right. I mean, but again, the music changed the fashion, and when we look out in the fashion arena, even when you look at like you said, secular music, when you look at hip hop, it is the fashion that goes along with the hip hop. And so if you want to be a hip hop artist, you have to dress the part. Right. And so music is definitely contributes and impacts the fashion. And so again, if you know that the music in your church is perhaps more secular, then it's going to shift the fashion in the church. And the fashion, and maybe not necessarily all of the church, but definitely in the ones who are singing those songs and doing the music. So very, very, very good point. Do you think, this is my next question. And listen, audience, if you have a question you want to ask, put it in the comments, or perhaps we may be able to open up the lines tonight and you can call in and we can answer your questions. But let me ask this question. Do you think the change in the lighting and other aesthetics contribute to the changes in the wardrobe?
Possibly. Sometimes as one thing begins to change, it's almost like a domino effect. So as you become more chill and it's a little less polished, I think that you do kind of relax things back a bit. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong.
Right.
What I'm saying is that is just how you do it. And one thing I think could affect the other. The same way I say that music affects how you dress. So sometimes what you see affects how you do things. Like I talk to my girls all the time. You know, they see Megan Thee Stallion on TV, and I'm like, you can't wear that in real life. That's not acceptable. She's an artist and she's taking all y'all money.
Right.
Y'all buying this music. But I'm like, but you can't wear it in real life.
Right.
So I said all that to say, you know, you kind of just have to build your own things. You just have to be wise.
Right, right. And again, to our listening audience and those that are watching, what we're talking about are things that, of course, the elephant in the room. We've all had these tabletop conversations, maybe not red table, but we have had our conversations about these subject matters. And this is to the leaders and the worship leaders to consider what we're bringing up in this conversation, to consider that perhaps those things are happening. Some things, you know, they happen and you don't realize that they're happening, and they're just going on. It's almost as if, you know, they say the best way to cook a rabbit is you put the rabbit in the stove pot, and you turn the water on, and you know, before the rabbit even knows it, the rabbit is being cooked because the water doesn't get hot quickly. It gets hot slowly, and before it knows it, it's already cooked. So we're just trying to make you aware of certain things, and I'm going to give my commentary about it as we go along. But I'm being nice right now. Because, you know, we have a guest. You know, when a guest comes over, you kind of be nice. But I have my own opinion. I'll share it as we go further and deeper into this show. So let's move on. So I wanted to show, because we're talking about praise and worship, and should your praise and worship team be sexy? And I want to start off, and I want to show this particular video. And I just want to talk about it because there are other things other than the sexy where we're going to get to the sexy, but we have to deal with some other things to go along with that before we get to the sexiness. So let's watch this video and we'll be back after this. Now, I wanted to have a little fun with this because I saw this video years ago, and it just showed to me sometimes what happens when you're on a stage. When you're on a stage, sometimes in your mind you are performing. You're no longer ministering. Right. But you're performing. And sometimes that changes the mindset of the audience that's looking, as well as the one that's doing the performing. And let's look at some comments. I want to share some comments that we had from that. This comment says, "This right here brings no glory to God whatsoever. It is a performance, not a worship." And so right off, we're going to deal with when it starts to become a performance instead of worship. Let's go to another comment. This is from Black Beauty Davis. This was 3 years ago. And she said, "Churches nowadays are just entertainment centers. God, please bring us back to where we first received you. We need the Holy Spirit." And so here it is. I'm just saying, we're having a conversation. Now, and I'm going to ask those that are viewing, have you ever felt like the praise and worship team was performing instead of ministering? What would you say to that? What would you say to the praise and worship team that says, well, part of our job is to perform? What would you say to that?
Well, their job is not necessarily to perform. Their job is to minister. And it's kind of, though, it's a thin line. Because you have to know your craft. You know, they sent for the skilled worshipers, the skilled people who were skilled on the instruments. So they know what they're doing and they know how to play the right chords. They know how to do the right things. I think that sometimes as people, we can take it a little bit too far. People will build your head up, and, you know, and then we become like, you have to think about it. We become like Lucifer. You know, your head gets big because now God's giving you this talent. It's important. We were created to make God's praise glorious. And now it becomes about us. And when it becomes about us, then becomes the issue. And then we're like, everybody look at me. This is all about me. Let me see how much. And so you have to be real, real, real careful, because I think that's what happened with Lucifer. He just kind of slowly got there. He was the most beautiful angel. He had the best voice. He had all the harps on him, and he was this and that. Hey, look at you. We don't need God no more. And that's going to get you in trouble every time if you're supposed to be the praise and worship team, because we're supposed to be glorifying God and not ourselves. And so I just think it's a real thin line. Some people say they know it. I a lot of times do. But to me, I say this all the time, I'll get with anybody who say they lifting up Jesus. If they come in the name of a prophet, that's what the word says. So, you know, I'm not going to sit there and turn my nose up at you. Right. But what I will say is I do believe that it's a thin line, and it can become a performance for a lot of people in a lot of ministries. And I think they have to be real careful with it, because I know that that's something that God does not like.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, as you were talking about that, I was thinking it is easy to get caught up when you are in the midst of singing and all eyes are on you. And if you're not careful, you will get caught up.
Do it better.
Right. You know, they're singing my song. I'm killing it. And that's what we have to be careful. So to all you praise and worship leaders and members out there, just know that we understand it. It's easy to get caught up, but realize who you are there to share the light and shed the light on. It is Christ that you are shedding the light to, not for yourself. And so, wow, I can't believe I said that, but that's a good one.
No, but that's really, really true. And honestly, that's why I had a really hard time becoming an artist. That was really tough for me because I felt like I just ministered the gospel in song. And so for me to say I was an artist, and I know that there are people who are artists and that's what they do. That's what they train for. And I get it. And you know, I just feel like I'm a worshiper who happens to have recorded a song or recorded a CD is where I kind of put myself in that. And so I get a little, it's a weird thing for me, just simply because I don't ever want to be pushed off that ledge. Wow. That's good. Now, let me ask you, so what would you say to that young praise and worship leader who is looking to be a recording artist, and you know, how should they make that transition, and what should they stay true to in that case? I would just make sure that everything you do, you're spirit led, and in order to be spirit led, you got to know God, and the only way you're gonna know Him is to read His Word. That's the Lord's to the honest truth. The only way you will know is to read His Word, because you know, not every worship leader is meant to be an artist, and not every artist is meant to be a worship leader. So let me just put that out there.
Wait a minute. Slow down. You just said something powerful. Slow down. You have to say that again. Say that again.
Not every worship leader is meant to be a recording artist, and not every recording artist is meant to be a worship leader. And in order to know that, and to know the difference, and to know where you fit, you have to know and understand the voice of God. And the only way you're going to know that is to be in your word, fasting and praying. That's it. That's my advice.
Listen, I wish we had your Cash App. I'll tell you, that's good. That's good. I was going to ask another question, but it would probably send us down a rabbit hole. Let me ask this question.
Okay.
So how much does the songs that are sung during praise and worship affect what is worn by the singers?
Do you mean like the beat of the songs? Because I would hope that most of the songs they're singing are about God.
That's
maybe you mean like the music and the atmosphere of the music. So like, is it? Because like I went to a hip hop church one time. I didn't know that's where I was going. Mm-hmm. They didn't call on me to sing. You know, I'm a gospel singer. I just randomly was there, right. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. But they were rapping during praise and worship, and it was okay. It wasn't for me,
right?
But I don't know. I think that does affect, because if I'm at a church like that, then obviously their atmosphere is a little bit different than a traditional church.
Yes.
Or even the contemporary church. They're a little more contemporary than a contemporary.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of when you go to a more traditional church, your expectations are different in terms of what's going to be sung, how praise and worship is going to go. And you can get most churches, I believe, are kind of a hybrid where you'll have some contemporary, you'll have some traditional, but then you can go to certain churches that are more traditional, and it's quite all right. For me, fashion is everywhere, and I do think the culture of a particular church will kind of determine the fashion in that church. So if the culture, which is, the pastor may be part of that hip hop age. And so, the fashion is more in line with that. Right. That's where I want to talk about just a brief. I just want to ask this question because, you see a lot of how, and this is the question, the impact that the predominantly white church has had on the black church in terms of the CCM music, in terms of the rocker pastor who's dressed down, whose sneakers may be $1,500, but they don't want to wear a suit that's $400 or $600 because it's too much. But anyhow, I digress. But how much has that impacted the black church, the music in the black church, and then even down to the fashion of the black church? How much would you say?
I think it's affected it a lot. I think that even with it affecting it, I think that has also affected the identity of our churches. So where you talk about CCM church, they know what their identity is, and we're just, oh, well, maybe we'll do that. Well, let's do this instead of. But I think everything you do, you should be led, not just do stuff because. I think that you should be led about the culture of your church and what you're doing instead of, well, we're losing half of our church to the white church, so maybe we should do what they're doing. If that wasn't what you were called to do, I think you should do and be open to change, but not change because of.
Oh. Can we get your Cash App? I'll tell you, that was good. That was good because I often ask the question, what problem is it that we're resolving by doing this?
Right.
What problem, or if you say growth, we're going to grow if we do this. Do you really grow? And if you don't grow, will you change back? It's kind of like, what problem are we answering? Because, they say don't fix what's not broken. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But we're seemingly we are changing just because we see maybe it worked for that church, but it wasn't even that worked. it was something else, but we're attributing it to that thing. And we say, well, if we just copy that thing, we'll get the same results. Well, we don't know if that thing was what caused the results or the outcome that they had. And so we have to be careful about that. I'm glad that you said it that way. So let's read another comment. Let's read another comment here. So this is referring back to that same video. It says, "This isn't praise and worship. This is look at me." So this person truly, they believe that this person, that praise and worship leader, got caught up in self. And when you do that, you probably are going to make the same mistake that he made. Let's look at another comment on that one.
All right.
It says, "Yep, straight showing off, dumb."
Wow.
You got to go to this one more. It says, "Pride go up before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." And he did fall.
A mess.
And so I'm telling you, so we definitely know that there are things that are happening when you get caught up in self. And I want to say that perhaps as we make a pivot, as we pivot towards our topic, that perhaps the person who may be, kind of crossing that thin line between what is fashionable and what is, I would say, appropriate and inappropriate, perhaps are the ones who are getting caught up in self. Who are getting caught up on look at me. So with that in mind, let's go to another video. Yeah, let's go to another video. And let's watch this video, and we'll be back after this.
All right.
We make it louder. Jesus, we shout your name. Jesus, we make your praise glorious. You are glorious. You know he's glorious. I want you to put a smile on your face. Shout, God, God, you are glorious. My God, you reign forever and ever.
All right. So I wanted to share that video because, I was imagining myself as the musician. And here's the musician who has to now see from behind all of the beautiful butterflies on stage. And I'm just imagining, what this young man has to endure with just being from the behind. And, those, and of course I use that because I didn't want to show anyone's face, but I'm just saying, if they were, if they were dressed very provocatively, then that might have been a challenge. And I'm not, let me make this crystal clear.
Okay.
I'm not saying that men in church are struggling with looking at the women in church. So let's remove that from what you're thinking. No one is struggling with that. So we don't want to use that as the reason why you should not dress sexy. We're not using that. We're not saying, because some guy is going to be looking at you a certain way. No, but we know that everybody that's in the church is not the same. So there may be someone who is struggling with that. But we don't even want you to even think about that. We want this to be a personal thing that you make a decision on yourself. And all we're trying to do is give you the tools to allow you and to enable you to make the best decision possible. That's all we're trying to do. And we're having fun doing it, by the way. So what would you say? What would you say to this question, right? Because we're talking about the sexiness and we're talking about the fashion. And would you say, again, that the setting, the lights, the camera, and to know that basically you're ministering in this setting most of the time to a camera. And you know that perhaps your peers are going to see it, and perhaps people that don't know you are going to see it. Would you say that that would maybe contribute to how the person would determine what they are going to wear for Sunday morning worship?
Maybe it depends, because what I have to say is probably for half of 2020, that's how we ministered, with just the camera. Just for the safety of people, but we still dress like it was church, and we have lights too. And maybe it just depends on. I think intent is kind of a lazy word. Maybe it just depends on what people have been taught. You know, is sexy relative? Because for you, what may be sexy for you may not be sexy for my husband.
Right. That's a very good point.
Or what I may deem as something that's a little bit much, somebody else may not, which is why people come up with dress codes. Then we eliminate people having to guess altogether.
Yeah. That is a very good point.
You know, just plain devil's advocate. That's just my thing. Like some people, if you haven't come from that, and then actually some people come from that and don't want to be that anymore, because you know that you probably know there are churches you couldn't wear earrings,
right.
Or I wasn't saved because I got lipstick on.
Right.
So all that is very, very, very. I don't know. It's I don't know.
No, it's a very good point that you made, because sexiness is relative, and that is why you define dress codes. Because, you know, if you tell people, well, just don't wear anything sexy, you could get someone who's wearing something that's not sexy to them. They're like, I just put this on, and you're like, wait.
Your boobs.
Yeah, but you must be going somewhere after church, right? Because you're going to work at Magic City. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm just, of course, I'm having fun, but nevertheless, that is a very good point. So, let me ask you a question: should the way we address it then and define it, because it is relative, is the answer a dress code? And then is the dress code maybe the bookends to just say that there is a standard? There is something between the bookends that we want you to come into agreement with. What would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing. It's kind of what I used to tell my girls in school. Because they have a dress code in school. You can't wear your shorts above a certain length. They can't wear halter tops. They can't wear spaghetti straps. They actually have dress codes in the public school system. So I think that's great. So I do agree with that. And same thing I would say in church, but the other thing with that is I could wear something as a semi-full figure curvy girl that somebody who's a stick wear the same thing, and it doesn't look sexy on her, but it looks sexy on me.
Right.
So you just have to know for yourself and just kind of pay attention to things. I actually do pay attention to myself. I look in the mirror. I make sure you can't see through my clothes and all the above. And it's a weird thing,
right?
For a woman, just because we're all shaped so differently, we're made very differently. We all can have two of us can have on the same thing. I could be out of dress code, and the other person be totally fine.
Right. You know what? As you were saying, I was thinking. A lot of times, I think when the mistakes are made, it's simply because perhaps, you know, the person doesn't have enough knowledge of, or maybe their own style, and people are looking for style. They're looking for fashion tips, and sometimes we're taking those tips from people that we should not. We're looking at these Instagram photos and saying, "Oh, that looks good on her. I'll wear that." And what you really need is someone, a consultant, a style consultant, a fashion consultant. And that's what I am. I can help you to wear the appropriate outfit in the appropriate setting. Because that's what we're basically talking about. We're not saying, I tell you, my platform is this, that you can be fly at any size. That's why I call you butterflies.
Absolutely.
You can be fly at any size, and you can wear whatever it is that you want to wear, but it has to be styled and fashionable. And sometimes that is the missing link. And so I want to show this other video that I think this fantastic praise team, they're young, they're energetic, and I really like them. So let's watch this video, and we'll be back after this. Come on, let's watch this.
Okay. And then wrap it up.
All right. We're back. We're having some type of technical difficulties, but I wanted to come back on and just make one last point. As we're going to have to bring our special guest back. But before we go, we want to at least be able to play this wonderful song that she has released. We want to be able to share this with you because we want you to make certain that you get this and put this into your library, your music library. This is something that you want to play and continue playing. So let's share that. We're going to take a few moments to get that set up. And we've been having a great show. Marshetta, I gotta ask you before we have any more technical difficulties. I have to ask you. I gotta ask you. Can you please come back, because we have to have more of this conversation. We have to. Can you please come back?
Absolutely, Will. It was great talking to you. I just lost track of time.
Yeah.
Having this great conversation with you. I think it's a real conversation that needs to be had in the church. And because I do think that we're so busy trying to chase what we think it should look like, instead of going after what God called us to do.
Wow. Wonderful.
So yes, I would definitely love to come back. And you know, I love fashion like you. I mean, I'm not like an official fashionado, but I have always loved fashion from the time I was a kid. I probably should have went into fashion.
No, you have always been fashionable ever since I've known you. So no, stop it. And we definitely are thankful that you're going to come back and join us. I'm telling you, I'm excited about that. And listen, to my audience, you need to tune in and make sure you watch to make sure when I post that you can be aware that we're going to bring Marshetta back. I'm going to hope that we can get her back real soon, even if it's next week, if she has the time. We want to bring her back because like I said, this is a conversation that we have to have. Again, this is going to help so many people. All of you young musicians, all of you young praise and worship leaders out there that are just starting out. You know, sometimes you don't have the benefit of having that voice to kind of give you some direction. You're trying to get it from a YouTube video. We have a great praise and worship leader in our midst on tonight. And if we're ready, let's go ahead and play just a snippet of this great song. And I want you to make sure that you get this song. Let's go to it.
He's a very present help in the time of trouble.
I'm telling you, I love this song. It takes you right into the throne room, and you want to get this song. I'm telling you, we put those outlets that you can go and download it. I'm telling you, you want to have this song in your music library so you can listen to it and let it minister to you. But listen, we've had a great show. I know we had some difficulties, but I'm so thankful for you guys sticking it out with us and staying with us as we have this conversation. And I'm telling you, we're going to come back and we're going to have part 2 of this discussion with Miss Marshetta Parker, gospel recording artist and praise and worship leader. So tell Lottie Dottie and everybody they want to be here when we have this conversation. And I'm going to say on tonight that we enjoyed your company, and we will see you again next week. You be blessed and have a good night.